Look, the reason you don't build your own software is the same reason you don't own a concrete plant, or you don't build your own trucks, you don't own a lumber mill. It's why you work with trade partners who are specialists at their trade instead of self-performing everything. You let somebody else invest all the time and capital to build it, and then you just get to use it when you need it, as needed, on demand. Hey guys, Todd DeWald here from ConstructionLeadingEdge.com. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Today's episode is a conversation between Monish Khadye from the Construction Leading Edge team and the owners of Tru Builders in Arizona, Max and Lori Christiansen, as well as their daughter, Cassie, who's also an owner. And here's what they discuss. Here's what you're going to take away from this conversation. First of all, how they made it through the 2008 slowdown. If you remember that, there was a bit of a slowdown, you might call it, back in 2008, and a few lessons from that. They also talk about the importance of staying focused on your pipeline. Stay focused on your pipeline, especially when you're really busy. Spend quite a bit of time talking about the power of small adjustments in your business, how their team has focused a lot of effort on how they hand off projects, what that means, and what that has done for them and their team. How Max and Lori are transitioning away from day-to-day operations of the business so they can spend more time traveling, and how they're doing that. And they also discuss their experience in our Systematize Your Construction Business program, also known as SYCB. So without further ado, enjoy this conversation with our Monish Khadye and the Tru Builders team from Arizona. Enjoy.
This is Monish Khadye. Welcome to another episode of the Construction Leading Edge podcast. And today, our guests are Lori, Max, and Cassie from Tru Builders in Arizona. And I'd like you guys to take the stage now and introduce yourselves. So who wants to go first? Tell us about yourself.
We might as well go left to right. I'm Lori, one of the co-owners, and I'm pretty much the office manager. I used to wear many more hats, but the advantage of growing is I have fewer hats to wear these days.
Good. More holidays.
So my name's Max. I'm the other co-owner with my wife, Lori.
Go ahead, Cass.
My name is Cassie. I am the senior designer here at Tru Builders, and then I'm also the vice president of operations. I do all of that behind the scenes fun stuff.
Nice. So,
Our fifth child going to take over the company eventually.
yeah, and it's been really interesting seeing that transition kind of start as well in a way. So there's plenty of our listeners, as you've met as well, people that are making that transition. So I'm sure there's a lot of value for people on how you guys are planning on doing that. So to begin with, do you want to tell us a bit about Tru Builders and how you guys started out and a bit of history behind that as well?
Sure. So I'm second generation construction. My father was a builder. He got his license. I'm going to go ahead and tell my age. The year I was born in 1962. And I actually started working for him when I was 8 years old. I started getting paid when I was 10. And then I worked with him until he retired. I was 23 years old. And then I went to work for corporate America, worked my way up to development manager, vice president of construction for a national builder, and then been out on my own self-employed since 1999. And so Tru Builders has been around for quite some time. And I've done just about every type of construction that you can think of, residential track, tuck under, multifamily, 4-story, commercial, and custom homes from 2,000 to 16,000 square feet here in the Valley. So now our primary focus with Tru Builders is additions and remodels. And that's our primary focus, residential.
Nice. And so can I ask, when you became a part of corporate America, you went away from, I guess, the family business when your dad retired. Was the idea there to eventually always start your own one day?
Yes, it was. When I was 23 years old, I was not even close to being ready to take over any type of a company. And so I knew that I needed to have more experience. And so that's when I went with the corporate structure. And worked my way up the ladder and felt like that gave me the knowledge and the information that I needed to be able to go out on our own.
Nice. And so, Lori, how did you get involved?
I think unknowingly, Max was replicating his parents because we were building customs, and our first few clients either knew exactly what they wanted or they had a designer. And then we had a client, they could not pick their finishes, or they were going back and forth. And he looks at me and he goes, Lori, I need you to help them. Take them shopping. You know where to go. You know what their price range is. And so that we are offering designer services. And we've grown a lot from my only experience being picking out the finishes for our house, helping clients pick out finishes for their house, which is actually a touch of marriage counseling as you go, in case you haven't figured that out yet.
Yep.
And that was back in 04, 05 that I started unofficially helping Max out. And then I came in and started running the office in 14.
Nice. It was quite a sneaky way off you to give away something you didn't want to do there, Max. I see what you did there. And so, Cassie, how did you get involved?
So I have six, well, there's six of us. So I have five siblings. Basically, all of us spent some time in the office growing up, like filing, answer phones, things like that, just to earn some allowance money. So we were kind of always around it. I definitely grew up with it. And then I definitely didn't want to do this when I first started doing work in the real world, let's say. And I did a lot of retail. That's what was my first job. And so I did that for a while and totally hated it, but I was there for so long. And in between there, I was still working for Tru, answering phones, doing things like that. And at one point I just called my dad. I called Max. I was like, I really don't want to do this anymore. Can I just work for you until I find a new job? He's like, sure, totally. That was in 2017, and I've been here ever since. So I've never found a new job, and I love it here. And then from there, honestly, the first probably 2 years, whole year and a half maybe, I just was Max's shadow. I basically went everywhere that he did, every sales appointment, every pre-construction job site visit. I did everything that he did, which taught me so much. Just listening and absorbing things like that. I followed along with my mom, Lori, and went shopping with her, learned things that way. And then from there, I kind of figured out what I wanted to do, which was the design aspect. So I still did sales here and there, but I mainly do design. So she wants to retire. She wanted to retire here for a while now. So I started doing all of the design probably in 2018, 2019. So right around that time, I took over all of the design. I've been doing it ever since. Yeah.
And tell us a bit more about that, because you've got your own ambitions there when it comes to design. So you've gone from not wanting to do this at all to this finding out how passionate you actually are about this, right?
Oh, for sure. I have so many big ideas. When actually, I think it was after only a couple of years I had been here, and my little sister was actually working with us at the time as well. So we were like, oh yeah, we're going to take over Tru. We're going to do it together. Yada, yada, yada. That didn't happen. So he asked me, he's like, so what are your plans? Like, I think he was just trying to think through my thought process of like, oh, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, I'm doing this. We're going to open up a brand new office. We're going to have a whole design studio. We're going to have it 2 stories, blah, blah, blah. So I definitely have a lot of plans for Tru, and I'm excited to see how I can make that happen in the future, but hopefully not too distant of a future. But I want us to have a full design studio for all of our clients to come, as well as all of our like construction aspect of it, have our own like handyman service, in-house tile, paint, drywall, all of that fun stuff, to have it more done everything by Tru Builders. And once you have it done by your employees, it usually makes your schedule a lot easier. So that's kind of where I'm hoping to grow and learn along the way.
And do you mind revealing how old you are, Cassie?
So I'm 24. It is April 13th. I'm going to be 25 on beginning of June. So
nice. The reason why I ask is you're incredibly ambitious and actually quite self-aware at that age. That's quite a rare trait. And as Max said, when you were 23, probably didn't have that level. I didn't have either. So I'm very...
We had a different focus at 23.
Yeah.
And
I would say they have made me very driven. Watching them do what they do and how much knowledge they both have, and just hoping that one day I can be as knowledgeable as them in this field and as successful. So
it was cute, actually. On one of her first design appointments with me, she's shadowing and the client's asking questions and I'm answering, and they turned around and they looked at Cassie and they said, well, what do you think? And she just started answering. And that night over dinner, she goes, I didn't even know I knew that. Because there was just so much that she'd learned via osmosis over the years.
You just absorbed it.
Exactly.
And that's quite a proud thing for yourselves, Max and Lori, like as parents, not just business owners, but as parents, to see your child's come up, taking a lot of what you guys have already built and is going to take it that next step. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so all 6 of our children have worked for the company in some capacity. It just, for some of them, it wasn't their dream. For some of them, for one specifically, it maybe was, but they are out of state. So 3 of our 6 kids live out of state. 3 are military. And so, yeah, it was always our goal to be able to give our children an opportunity to say, hey, here's a family business. You want to work in it for a while, that's great. But Lori and our attitude about sort of everything in life in general, especially Tru Builders, is we're not going to give you anything, you're going to have to earn it. And if you just want to be here for a paycheck, that's fine. We'd love to have you. But when it comes to really focusing on being able to turn a company over to one of our children, they really had to have the passion. And so Cassie's the only one that demonstrated that passion, is the only one that said, hey, that actually came to Lori and I and said, hey, this is what I want to do. What do I need to do to get to the next level? What do I need to do? And so, yeah, it's been a blessing. It really has. So we're super thankful for that.
Yeah. And it's, you've met my wife, Michelle, and my son, Max, who's now 15 months old. And to me, like to both Michelle and I, it'd be pretty awesome if one day Max follows our footsteps and does what we do. But obviously you can't force that. And I'm not, just like yourself, I'm not just going to hand it to him. He's got to earn it and see how we go. That's cool. And Cassie, I kind of want to point out like how we work together. I've found that although you're a designer, you're quite commercially astute as well. And I feel like you've done well as a designer because you've understood the functional needs and you actually help people make decisions and stuff as well. So, there's designers that are there to win design awards, and then there's designers that actually provide quite a good service to their clients. So I want to hear from you how you've managed to separate those two aspects.
For sure. So in Arizona, the part of Arizona that I work is in the Valley. So we do a lot of work in the Sun Cities, which is a 55 and up community. So after going with Max on so many of the appointments, I've learned, okay, it has to be pretty, but more important, it has to be functional, especially because if they're aging in place and this is the house that they want to grow old in and they want to be here forever, how is that going to function for them, but still looking nice? So I definitely learned, number one, how the houses were built, how to take it apart, how to put it back together, but how to make it functional and not have so much wasted space for it. And so when I say I'm a designer, I think so many people are like, oh, well, like what pretty finishes do you do? Or what kind of wallpaper do you like? I'm like, oh, I don't do wallpaper. I'm like, well, how many niches can I have? Where can I fit everything that I need to? What do they need? They come to me with what their needs are, what's the most important to them, and how do I turn that into a full project for their kitchen, their bathroom, their master suite edition, everything like that. And so I think learning how I could use space and how I could make it functional was such a big thing, because being a designer isn't just thinking about, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do. Because at the beginning, when I said, oh, I want to do this, I'd come to Max or I'd come to our project manager, Mitch, and he's like, I can't do that. And I'm like, well, why? I want this. They want this. The client wants that. And then learning that and then being able to set the expectation with my client up front and saying, I can't do this, but I can do this instead, has been really helpful. And I think it definitely makes us stand out, because at Tru Builders, we're known to make things work for what they want. So many clients come to us with an exact idea, or they have absolutely no idea what they want, but they know they want to change it to be functional for them. So that is a big part of being a designer and not just focusing on oh my gosh, how pretty can I make this? So that's something that I strive for. If you look at our website, you'll see it's pretty, but more importantly, it's functional for them. So
you want to hear a funny story to go along with that?
Go on.
We had some clients that are in their 70s, and on like the fourth or fifth edition version of their kitchen, she's 5 foot nothing.
Yeah.
And she wanted the European cabinets that you tap and the doors go up. Cassie looks at her and goes, how are you going to close those? And she goes, but I want it to look pretty.
Yeah.
And Cassie said, and what I'm proposing will look pretty. And she kept going on. And finally, Cassie said, you know what? We need to part ways. Tru Builders will not put their name on something that's not functional. Mm-hmm. The client stepped back, thought about it, and said, all right, Cassie, you're right. Let's go forward with your design.
Yeah.
Which is pretty impressive. This was over a year ago. She wasn't even 24 yet. So here she was, 23 to a 70 something. No, we will not put our name on that. It must be functional as well as beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually, quite a rare trait to have, but sometimes people need to have those difficult conversations, because what you've done there is you've basically said to the client that, hey, I'm actually looking out for your best interest. I could just build you whatever you want, but you're probably not going to be happy with it in the long run.
Yeah.
And it's impressive that you were able to just go, look, I'm either going to do it for you in the way that's actually going to work or not do it at all.
Yeah. And it's hard because there's so many different ways clients can take that. But I'm like, if I say it with a smile on my face and I look like I'm being nice to you, because I am, you'll take it and hopefully perceive it very well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could deliver really bad news with a smile on your face, and it's not really that bad. But,
exactly.
That's a big part of why clients come to designers and to people that do design and build, because you could just go on Pinterest or Instagram or whatever, look at all these pretty things, but they may not be suitable for you personally, and they may not work together functionally as well. So there's people that try and do design themselves. Everyone thinks they can do it, but it's not the best for people to try and have a crack at themselves because of these failures. And, let's talk about lessons learned sort of thing for you guys and for all three of you. How has a failure or an apparent failure set you up for later success? And do you guys have a favorite failure of yours each?
So I'll start with that one. In 08 and 09, we had a huge slowdown nationally, but specifically here in Arizona as well due to the economy. And at the time, we were building 10,000 to 16,000 square foot custom homes. We were building super large mega homes. We had some smaller ones too, but we had 3 contracted projects. One where we pulled a permit, we were within probably 2 weeks of starting construction. Another one we had approved plans, and another one we had already moved forward with a lot purchase and we're starting preliminary. And within about 40 days, literally, we lost $9 million worth of work. And we went, oh no. And so that was a big hit for us. Huge hit, actually. We finished up a couple of houses. When you do those size of houses, you spend some time doing those and you don't have a whole lot of them. We actually have a superintendent on each specific house. So all of a sudden we had that just stop in a matter of about 40 days. And so we just decided to, hey, what else are we going to do? So we started doing additions, remodels. We started doing did a couple small commercial projects, but we went from doing several $1 million in volume a year to, I think in 10, if I'm not mistaken, we did less than $500,000. So we worked our way back. And so I don't know if it was necessarily a failure on our part. I should have seen the indicators, and I should have probably changed directions in 08 and maybe added doing some other types of work, but we were so entrenched in what we did, I sort of had blinders on. But one of the things that was really a blessing for us personally is we did have a substantial amount of debt at that time. We worked our way out, and within a matter of a few years, we actually became debt-free, and our company now has 0 debt and money in the bank. And so that was a failure that turned into a blessing. But we struggled for a few years. Yeah.
And so what was the lesson learnt out of that? So, there's a lot of banging on about in the mainstream media about a recession coming and this and that. So how are you placed in the event that happens again?
So yeah, diversify. You just can't keep all your eggs in one basket. At that time, we were just doing, high-end customs. And so it's about diversification. Additions and remodels are great. There's times when, that is going to slow down as well. We've actually had a slowdown on that over the past 6 months, but then it picked back up. So I think what we learned was being diversified, number one. Number two, know debt and have money in the bank. And number three, also, I think having a great relationship with your trade partners too, because on a monthly basis, I actually speak to every one of my trade partners, and I know Cassie does with the suppliers too. When it comes to lumber and trusses and concrete, our concrete supplier, these are guys that do, they sometimes see a completely different picture than we do. And so I think just talking about that, communicating with that, and then just making sure that strategically we are in a good spot when it comes to business, when it comes to future business. I think that's what we really learned. Number one, we got out of debt. Number two, we just need to diversify and just communicate with your trade partners and suppliers.
Yeah. So, and if you don't mind me asking, just because, right now there are a lot of people that probably have this fear that a downturn's coming and how are we going to handle it? How are we going to manage it? So let's make a worst case assumption and things do go downhill. What does it look like for you guys?
So, for us, we did slow down. Our pipeline slowed down, but I think what everybody needs to do is really focus on your pipeline. If you have a pipeline and you know what your normal business is, for us, pipeline should be 6 to 9 months. It'd be great if it was 12 months. Some people don't want to wait that long.
Yeah.
And they'll bounce to somebody else maybe that's not as busy. But I think if you just keep your focus on the pipeline and understand your sales, if you have a sales team, if it's just you, if it's a referral only, I think that's really what our focus was, is just making sure that our pipeline was full. The other thing too, Monish, is it's really important that even when things may slow down for you, don't take on a project if you're not going to make any money. It's not worth it. And you really still need to work with the right people. We qualified our clients all the time. As a matter of fact, I spoke on the phone with somebody that we spoke with. One of our sales guys spoke with last year, and I spoke to him on the phone. And after 5 minutes, I'm like, now I remember again why we said no to this client. You need to make sure that it's going to be a good fit.
Yeah, I think you've hit it on the head there. I think a lot of people will say yes to every opportunity that comes by. I think people like yourselves that have been through the previous recession, they've kind of got that in the back of their head that you got to make hay while the sun shines, but it could be counterproductive when you take on the wrong clients and work with the wrong people.
They can be time stealers, they can be profit stealers, and sometimes it's better to just say no.
And position your business to be efficient instead of saying yes to everything and having to grow the business, I suppose, the results of that. That's interesting. So, Lori, what would you say in terms of your favorite failures, if there are any? I know you're pretty perfect, Lori, so there might be nothing.
You know her so well.
For me, it was losing things in the design process. Like, okay, I've taken them shopping and I've gotten everything that we need. And then I forgot to order the lights. Heck, I forgot to even take them shopping for the lights, which back when I could get them in a week wasn't that big of a deal. So putting together a system where I kept all of our allowance items together inside of the project management system, because when it was spread throughout the whole thing, the whole schedule, it was easy to get lost. So by grouping them or categorizing them together, one, I kept my clients out of everything else, but it also kept me more organized and on track to making sure, did we shop for every single one of their finishes? Are we on track for that? And the categorization of grouping them all together, I say I'm the queen of workarounds. The software management system was not designed to do that, that was not what they had in mind, but I'm like, no, this is what we need to do. So I worked around to make it work within what I saw as my personality and my client's personality. And at several conferences, I would tell builders about it, including in our SYCB. And they're like, that's genius. How do you do that? Show me how to do that. So I'm not the only one that thinks that way. I've also done those kind of workarounds inside of QuickBooks. QuickBooks wouldn't do what I wanted. I couldn't afford to go get my own system. So I found workarounds to make QuickBooks do what I want.
It's amazing what you can get.
Is if you know what you want, figure out how to do it.
Yeah. And ask the question, right? Always ask the question.
Yes.
That's good. And Cassie, how about yourself?
So I would say my favorite failure, what I learned the most from failure is in 2019, right at the beginning, we were so busy, like right around the end of 2018, 2019, we were slammed. We were probably working 8, 10, 12 jobs at a time, which at that time, it was Max was doing the sales, I was doing all the design, and then we had one superintendent. So Max was sales and all of the project management, scheduling, and I did scheduling with him, and it was definitely a lot for just the two of us. And then Mitch, who was our super at the time, we were really working, I would say probably like 70 hours a week. It was brutal. We were so busy. And at that time, we were like, you know what? We just need to hire somebody. We need to hire some more people. And we'd already been thinking about it for a while, but he likes to do things a certain way. So it was kind of hard to find who we were going to use. So at that time, we were like, you know what? We're just going to hire everybody. We hired a salesperson. We moved our super to a project manager, and then we hired a super. So we had 2 brand new people that then in turn we were like, oh, this is going to be so great. We didn't think, oh, we have to train them. We have to do all of this stuff. So on top of what we were already doing, we had to figure out, now we have to train all of these people to figure out to do exactly what we were doing. And at that time, when you're carrying so many hats and you're doing so many things, you don't even think about the little things that you do that you don't realize that you do that makes your job run smoothly. And we just couldn't do it. Like, we had already been doing it probably for 8 months with all of them, and we couldn't figure out how to make it work. We didn't know how to delegate or how to help them do what they needed to do without us being like, I don't understand why it's not working. So we kind of took a step back. We took on a little bit less jobs at that time so that we could figure out what we needed to do in our office, in our like behind the scenes to make it work. And then some of those people just didn't even end up working out because they didn't want to do it the way we wanted to. So then we were kind of back to the drawing board. And then at that time we were like, okay, well, let's just keep doing what we're doing and then try again. And then we tried again. We found some more people that we liked, but we still were having such a hard time like designating roles and things like that. And then we found SYCB, and that made us learn a lot of how to designate roles and figure out how we all needed to do things. And now we're running really full steam ahead, doing everything that we need to do. And all of our clients are happy, but most important, all of our employees are happy and know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. So that was such a big thing that we learned in our failure by taking on too much and then understanding, okay, this is what we need to do to grow. So, yeah.
We had job descriptions, but job descriptions can actually be too general. So SYCB and you taught us roles and responsibilities and assigning those roles, those, what's the word I'm looking for? Completion, for lack of a better word, of certain tasks to people. And that was what we were missing the first time around back in 2019 when we were expanding. And we're very thankful for Todd and yourself for helping us figure out. It was really such a small switch, but massive results.
Yeah. And then figured out who we actually needed to hire that we didn't hire. Like, now I have a full-time assistant that helps me with all of the design. And we know what we need because we were like, there's no way one person can just do all of this.
Yeah. I remember, like, you know, when you guys started out, you actually had a lot of things in place already. And a lot of your frustration initially was, why aren't our employees just doing it? Why aren't they just bring that about? So I think, Lori, what you're saying is probably the ownership of those processes.
That's the word, yes.
Yeah, probably transferred across over to them to be able to do that. So I think it's, you know, going back, it's probably important to acknowledge that you guys were already successful. You were already at a point that everything was going well. It was just that little tinkering and adjustment that needed to change. So, well, my next question for you is, what is something you believe to be true about business that some might think is unconventional or even crazy?
That we do?
Something you believe about business, yeah.
So when Max first started having me do the design, the selections, I didn't really know anything about it. I came in and did the accounting for him quarterly, and that was it. That was all I was participating in. And as we're going shopping, I'm getting asked questions like, well, what price am I supposed to tell them? And when we built our house and I was going shopping, I was thinking, oh, wait, now I get what my clients are saying when I take them out to go pick out their appliances. And they're like, wait a minute, how much I can spend on this refrigerator and stove is affected by what your upcharge is. So we took all of the finishes, all of the allowance items, and we have no upcharge on them. There's no kickback. There's no whatever you want to call it. We said, you know what? If we cannot make our money on the project in the rest of the project, we're doing something wrong. And on multiple occasions, the clients have told us that one of the things that sold them on us, on Max and Cassie and I, on Tru Builders, was our transparency with what they're spending on their finishes, how much it actually cost. And so that's one of the things that we're different on.
Yeah, we don't know another builder around, specifically in our area anyway, that we don't upcharge our finishes. And I guess, so for us, it's like, if we've had a client spend $1,000 on a granite slab or a slab of top material, or $10,000, and we've had a client spend I think it was $12,000 on one slab, and they didn't even use the whole slab. They used it for their powder room. Whether it's $1,000 or $12,000 for a slab, the fabrication cost is the same. Whether, and so whether the tile costs $2 a square foot or $10 a square foot, the installation price is the same. And so that's one of the things that I think for a lot of people, a lot of builders, they go, that's crazy. Why wouldn't you do that? Well, just like Lori said, we've created a ton of trust and transparency when it comes to, hey, you're going to get all the finishes, at our price. We're going to make money on the job. When we do that too, we acknowledge up front, and then they acknowledge, yeah, that's right. You do have to make money on the job. So we get paid because of our expertise and how well we do the work, and our communication, our design team, everything. So anyway, that's probably one of the craziest things that we do that nobody else does.
That's really interesting. So what you're basically saying is you don't penalize the client for purchasing something that's slightly better grade. In fact, you're allowing them the room to upgrade if they need to.
Yeah, and with the understanding that when we take them shopping, like as the designer, if they're like, okay, I want to upgrade my floor because I want this instead. Oh, but then I also want it in a different lay, or I want you to put it in a herringbone pattern instead of like a straight lay. Then me as the designer telling, okay, just letting you know that's going to be upcharge on the labor. So understanding if they still want to upgrade, but they want to do something different than just the material, letting them know, yeah, I am going to charge you more for that as well. And then on top of that, I have to facilitate X, Y, and Z to go to my trade. I have to update the schedule. I have to update the scope. So I have to charge you for my time. So those are other things that we try to just like let them know, and so that they have expectations for what they're getting and how they're getting charged and why. It's a big thing too.
I think that's a really good point that you brought up there, Cassie. I think, a lot of people miss out on when and if there's a change order or rework in design. They miss out on capturing the costs for that work. So well, you guys are doing the right thing, but your business is still efficient and profitable because your costs of actually the hour or 2 hours of doing that rework in the schedule is being accounted for. So the client can still upgrade, but you're still better off. It's not that you're doing that for free and also spending an extra 2 hours doing more stuff for free. So yeah, I think
that was a big thing too, just telling them, our time, my time here isn't free. Like it costs money for us to do everything that you're asking us to do, which then I feel like putting it in perspective that way, Max says all the time, would you want me to waste your time? You're not wasting my time. So then like showing it as like, we're not going to do that to you. You won't do that to us. Like respect.
Yeah. And it's quite a common thing in our industry. Like if you look at doctors and lawyers and stuff, no one gets 3 quotes for a doctor. No one, questions the time that they're paying their lawyer. But when it comes to having $1 million house built, it's like, oh, what do you mean you've got to charge me for 2 hours for ad? That doesn't make sense. Like,
Right.
Exactly. Oh, so funny. It's not free? No, sorry.
Yeah. I think it's probably important for people like yourselves who are a good, decent business, who are providing quite an excellent service, need to actually charge for it, because the alternative, clients could say, I need to compare your price to someone else's bid, right? And they'll do an apples for apples comparison and they'll look at everything that's listed. What no one has ever done is, if there's the same house to be built by 2 different builders side by side, seeing what sort of service you get out of that, right? People can't compare service. So I think it's important that you just charge the right amount, because you know what you're going to provide. The client is going to find out through that process itself.
Exactly.
Well, tell us then, so what is one specific part of your business that's working well for you, something you feel you've cracked the code on, or that you'd be willing to share? Not so much an industry secret, I suppose.
For sure. So I would say one of the main aspects that our company really shines is definitely the design process. And for the client, understanding, because so many people in the Valley here in Arizona, they don't provide design services for their client, or they say, okay, these are all the finishes that you need, go and get them and we'll install them. Which here at Tru Builders, we don't do that. We prefer that they pick and they get all of their finishes through us, because number one, we know where they're coming from. We know the supplier, the quality, and the warranty aspect. Because if we have to warranty what we're putting in, we want to know that it's going to be a good quality material. So for us doing the full design process, I feel like that's something really that we shine and where we've cracked the code on. For so many of our clients who are like, I thought this was going to be so hard, and you have just made it so easy. Understanding I am asking them a lot, like I'm going through every aspect of their remodel, every aspect of their new addition. It's a lot that they don't even know that they have to pick. So them being like, having it all laid out, and they go, wow, this is so much, like, thank you so much for everything that you've done. And they always say, I swear, at the end of every single job that I have, they're like, thank you so much. Like, you have just made this so easy for me to do. I didn't have to do anything, and I don't have to stress or remember it, because that's your job. That's what you're doing. And so they know they're in good hands, and they know that they don't have to worry about those little tiny minuscule little details, which is huge for someone.
Yeah.
So for us, for me personally, I think where we've really cracked the code, Monish, is our pre-construction handoff to construction. That was one of the things that we actually really did a fairly decent job for a long time, but there were so many little things that we tweaked that now we have on a larger project. And again, projects can be small or large, but we do have a 4-stage pre-construction handoff to where before we actually start construction on the job, the guys in the field, project managers, superintendents, our Tru crew, all of our trade partners, they know exactly, they have all the information they need, every bit of it. They have all the information they need so that they can go out and they can perform and they can do it right the first time. That, I think, is something that we really, really shine on, and we have over the past several months.
Yeah.
I think that's a twofold thing, because adding to what Cassie was saying too, your client probably feels overwhelmed with these hundreds of decisions they've got to make, and they're not professionals, so they can look at a tile in isolation, but how does that fit in with the rest of their kitchen or their bathroom or whatever? And once they've made all those decisions, and like you said, Max, all those decisions have been transferred onto your construction team, just having the certainty, people knowing, what we're building, clients knowing what to expect, what to see, that probably makes a big difference as to how smoothly your construction goes, right?
Huge difference for sure. And I think the biggest thing too is Max and I, or the ladies in our office, they're not getting tons of phone calls from clients, from trades. I thought we were getting this, or they're saying that you're supposed to be doing this, and now we're doing this instead. They know exactly what's going on, and then it frees up our time to actually do what we're supposed to do instead of running out and putting out all these little fires. And it's been a huge difference for sure.
So I will tell you that another huge indicator of that is we have completed projects $500,000, more than $500,000. Our smallest project is usually around 30 or 40. But I can't remember the last time that we had more than 2 change orders on a whole project. Yeah. Wouldn't it be cool just to have no change orders or 1 or 2? That's it for the whole project on these projects. And so to me, that's a huge success. To me, it just tells me that, wow, we did address everything up front, and the change orders are actually requested by the client. And they say, hey, you know what? I changed my mind. I want to do this. Okay, great. But 1 or 2 per project, or sometimes 0. We've had a few with 0 change orders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big difference for us for sure. I'm like, this is amazing.
And there's this misconception that, clients think builders want change orders. We don't. We just want to build and get out of there. I think, I don't know if you guys have found this, but the couple of change orders we've received since we started doing our pre-construction that well is clients that halfway through the build reveal that, well, actually, we kept this contingency fund because we were expecting change orders, but there aren't any. So now there's this money that we'd like to use. What can we do with it?
What can I do now? I don't even know.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm like, well, you'll have to go back to pre-construction. So let's leave
Phase 2? No.
But, I think I feel quite satisfied with our pre-construction process as well. It's so much better not having these phone calls. And it must just be such a better peace of mind for our guys on site, like every day, knowing what they're building instead of having to try and figure out or wait for decisions and things like that.
Yeah.
Right.
And I feel like it's so much easier for them too, because they want to retire. So they want to stop working as much in the office. So then knowing they can go on vacation, they don't have to worry about someone calling them all the time. It's such a game changer too. So, yeah.
And these things, Lori, from your perspective, from, managing accounts and costs, how has that improved that side of things as well?
Yes, it's subtle, but yes, it has, because it also streamlined our internal process when we were going through it. So while we were learning the handoff or perfecting the handoff through SYCB, we also addressed it from an accounting standpoint. And some days you also just have an epiphany. For the longest time, whenever we had change orders, we're trying to figure out, okay, so this much is electrical, this much is tile, this much is plumbing, and finally we went, no, wait, it all just goes into a change order category, which for us, maybe somebody else had already figured it out, was an epiphany from an accounting standpoint, instead of trying to break down every single thing. Because at some point, what is our time worth? What is our time worth in trying to figure out exactly how much did we spend on each project in accounting, in electrical, in plumbing, so that was it for us.
Yeah.
We have a minimum, it's part of the contract, change order, it's a minimum of $150, whether you accept it or not, because that's an hour or 2, that's a couple hours of somebody's time to figure out, approximate cost. So we do have our time covered in that, but clients know up front, it's $150 for the change order. Heck, we should be charging more on something.
And it's funny too, because in all of our contracts, it's like boilerplate. It's like, okay, $150. How much like an hourly labor charges? And then how much, you have to add 20%, obviously. You got to make money. And then they're like, I didn't even realize. I'm like, it was right there. It's all right there for you. So then we
read it to you.
Then they understand. They're like, you know what? This was my bad. I should have been paying more attention.
So I can tell you, here's a perfect phrase for somebody, a client, when they come to you and they say, hey, well, what about this or what about that? Can we change this or can we change that? You want to know the perfect change? The perfect phrase is this: has your budget changed?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Forwards. Love that. Anyway.
And it's sometimes, and what I want to hit on quite critically, as you've said, is you charge that minimum fee regardless of whether they accept the change order or not. And that's quite important, because some clients out there will just try and get you to do this legwork to figure out whether they actually want to go ahead with the change order or not. And you end up doing that for free quite often. A lot of people do.
Right.
And if it doesn't result in a change order, you don't get a margin, you don't get a markup or whatever. And you've spent 8 hours, 2 days, a week, whatever, for free for just evaluation, which is the same with estimates and stuff like that. So, all right, well, how about you take us to the moment when you realized that your work in the Systematize Your Construction Business program was actually working to solve your individual problem. And I know that moment was pretty precise for Lori. Remember that conversation? So maybe you want to start us off on that?
No, I'll let them start. Go. You know what it is.
So I think that there were a lot of things that we were doing okay, or maybe better than average.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, but there were so many things that we learned from the course that was just a tweak here or a tweak there, and it made all the difference in the world. It really did. Again, I go back to our pre-construction handoff to construction. That was just amazing how that morphed. To me, that was that was the big one for us.
I feel like what really was fun for me is right after. So we were kind of like, I would say probably like 5 or 6 weeks into the SYCB program. And we had already learned so much. And at that point, we're going over like checklists, like nail the handoff, things like that. And I actually met with the client like a week later. And it was so funny because I'm asking her these questions. She's answering my questions. And then at the end, she goes, "You asked my questions that I already had. Like, you already knew what I was going to ask you. How did you do that?" I was like, "Have a checklist." Like, I just literally felt, I swear I had never felt so prepared going into an appointment. And I was like, this is amazing. Like leaving and going into our project management system and putting all of this stuff in there, knowing that I did exactly what I was supposed to do and that nobody was going to be asking me questions on it. I was like, I can sleep good tonight. This is amazing.
Yeah.
That was huge for me.
And that's, what Lori was saying earlier in terms of forgetting the light fittings or forgetting to take them to that. There's always going to be an aspect of human error. Like regardless of how skilled and experienced you are or your staff is, there's always going to be that. Whereas if you back that up with a system, it allows people to actually succeed in their roles because they've got the right tools to actually be able to do that job.
Yeah, it was huge.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, Lori, what was your turning point?
I think it was letting go as an owner and giving employees ownership.
Yeah.
And making them responsible instead of micromanaging and having to look over everybody's shoulder. I mean, as an owner, there's always some degree of that, right? You don't ever, that's where the 8 hours a week comes in, right? Double checking that everybody took ownership truly of what it was that they were supposed to do. And if they've done that, then our job is done. So that was, I think, the big one for me.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to bring up from my perspective what the turning point was, because I know with Cassie and Max, we've joked about it, but we got to a point in the program where you basically went, right, this is good. I'm now going on holidays. And you literally just left. And you left.
Yeah, I don't think she replied to a single one of like the messages in SYCB. Like, I think it was like after like week 7 or something. And on our call, she's like, "What's Lori doing?"
She just wiped her hands and moved on. So I want to ask, yeah, like in terms of, because there's 3 of you, right? And you're equally as passionate about the business. And you, Lori, were the first one to actually come to us and register for the program. And then it kind of, like, we talk about ownership for employees, etc., but it comes up to you guys as the owners of the business as well, and the individual roles and accountabilities that you had. So tell us about how your mindset shifted there, Lori, and you were able to actually step away from certain things and leave them with Max and Cassie. How did that come about?
Well, part of that was we had hit the point in the system where it was about what's going on in the field, and I don't have input on that. That's their realm, and going along with knowing the roles and knowing your lanes and staying in your lanes, that wasn't my lane. So I stepped out. I have a tendency to want to butt into somebody else's lane sometimes. So the best way for me to not do that is to just step away. And I have been such a proponent of systems. Cassie will attest to this. I actually wrote my first policies and procedures when she was like 10, and I had posted on the wall around the house. How do you take out the trash?
Wow.
How do you feed the dog? How do you clean the kitchen? Because sometimes we expect things of people without telling them A, B, C, D, E. So I'm a firm believer in systems. And so when I heard Todd talking about systematize your business, and I knew we had a lot of systems in place, but I was like, sometimes you just need that outside input to get you over the edge. And SYCB truly did that for us.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it too is we all know kind of our roles, and we all kind of respect each other with that, obviously. But we did feel like when she left, we knew it was because she isn't going to try to do what we're doing, and I'm not going to try to do what Max is doing. Max is going to try to do what I'm doing. And then on top of that, it was also just understanding we all are kind of hard-headed. And so when we decided to do SYCB, I think we all had something that we were like, why are you doing it that way? Or she's like, why are you doing it that way? So then when we did the program and you like actually saw all of our replies, you're like, well, maybe do this. And I was like, I told you. Or Lori's like, Cassie, I know this is exactly what we should have been doing. And so I think that was like the push that we needed for us to understand, you know, it's so much easier if we work together, which we already were. But then those little aspects were like understanding that we're all owners and we're all looking towards the same goal, knowing that they don't want to be here forever and knowing that I have things that I want to do. And so I think that just really helped us to figure out exactly what we wanted to do, like our 5-year plan, everything like that, which was such a big thing. Because for us, we always were like, oh, 5-year plan. And then Todd's like, you guys are like, well, what's your 12-month plan? And we're like, I don't know. So that was so cool being like, you know, this is something important that we should think about. So
we had those plans, or I should say I had those plans, but it's a matter of making sure that we all agreed on them.
Yeah.
We were all in sync.
Mm-hmm.
So
expectations
it brought us all together.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Max, your plan was to just never retire, to just always.
Honestly, I love this. I didn't want to have to continue to work the 60, 70 hours a week. And now, or more, now we don't. I mean, we're at the beach for 2 weeks.
So tell us more about that. How's life different now? Since, because you guys are like over 6 months past having finished the program. And
so I'm just going to tell you that we have been gone almost as much as we've been in the office this year. Maybe not quite, but pretty close. Lori's actually been gone more.
I believe that. 100% believe.
So, yeah, no, it's been great. Just having that additional time, having the flexibility. For me personally, I don't know if I'll ever 100% truly retire because I love what I do. I love the sales portion of it. I love interacting with people. I love interacting with the staff. And so this has just given us so much more flexibility. I can't even, it's hard to describe, but it's been a huge blessing for us, knowing that we're confident that we can step away for a period of time and literally not even check anything for a day or two and pop back into our project management system and say, yeah, everything's going good. So
when you're on holiday, you're actually, or vacation as you guys call it, you're actually on vacation. You're not on your phone and answering.
Right. Yeah, there's a couple of times I am, just because I am still doing sales and I need to follow up and, with pre-construction contracts and so on and so forth. But yeah.
But that's your personality, Max. It's my
personality. Yes.
You're probably always going to do that, but you're doing it because you want to, not because you feel like you're trapped or having to respond to anything.
Right. So when we're down at the beach, Lori has already made it clear to me when we're down there, she doesn't do anything with Tru Builders. Zero nada.
Yeah. I mean, I'll talk to my daughter, and if she happens to bring up work, I will talk to her about it. But
and she's like, your 5 minutes is up.
I love it.
I'm not doing emails. I'm not writing policies and procedures. I'm not reviewing how are we systematizing things. I'd rather have a shorter vacation so I can 1,000% enjoy my vacation. And then when I come here, be 1,000% focused here.
So when you're away, Lori, and you're able to fully disconnect and switch off now, are you obviously doing that because you're confident that whatever's going on in the office is going to work? It's not that you're going to come back to work and there's going to be a stack of stuff for you to have to resolve. It's built up while you're away.
Yes. But keep in mind, I handle the accounting side, so I don't have the fires that these two have to deal with. Like, hey, somebody hit a pipe and now we have a water leak. So I can
Which
do
that
that a
didn't
little bit
happen.
more.
That's like, I don't know. Anyway,
But I can step away with a little bit less. I don't have the same kind of fires that these two would have to put up with. So
Yeah. But cash flow is important. Bills still need to be paid.
Yeah, last year, I think they were gone for almost like, not all at the same time, obviously, but they were probably gone for like 18 weeks in total on vacation, which they were still available to me if I needed it. And it was funny because Lori's like, I actually thought you were going to call us more. And I was like, oh, are you missing us? You missing us? What are you doing?
it was actually great. Like the first 2 times that we went away, he would text, this happened.
Just letting you know.
And well, what should I do? And then like the 3rd time we were gone, this happened and this is what I did.
Mm-hmm.
So the first 2 times it was, this happened, what do you want me to do? And the 3rd time it was, this is what's happened and this is what I did. So she took all of her experience and just started doing it. She took ownership and then just let us know what happened. So that was amazing to see that she didn't feel, oh, I have to go check in. I need to do it.
that was a few years ago when she did that.
So yeah, and it's still kind of amazing to think that we were gone as often as we were last year. But yeah, the world kept spinning and business kept running.
And so with these guys being away, Cassie, like with everything that's set up now in terms of your leadership system and stuff like that, are you finding it, obviously there's always going to be things that pop up, but are you finding it a bit more comfortable to manage the business in their absence, those things in place?
And I also feel like it's when you know that you're the last person that all of your employees come to, you have a very good sense of self and you have that responsibility. And knowing that I had to have the answer for everything really pushed me, especially the first couple of times. And then now I just know that I know what I'm going to do. And I know that maybe not all of my employees or everybody's going to agree with it, but that's what's going to be right. And we don't even have, I would say, as many big fires and issues because we spent so much time, the 3 of us spent a lot of time working to make sure that if things did come up, we'd have the answer. And we don't have any big hiccups here or there, which was nice that they knew they were helping me out before they left.
Yeah.
I can't even remember the last hiccup that we had because Cassie takes care of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while.
Sometimes he'll get back and he'll read, like he'll go into our project management system and he's like, this is what you guys did. I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay.
Going back to when you guys were frustrated with your employees not taking ownership and all that sort of stuff, how's that going? Like as from their perspective, from your staff's perspective, I remember we spoke about Mitch as well. How are things going from their perspective now? Are they finding it easier and are they less nervous when it comes to doing their job?
I personally think that they are. And I think one of the biggest things is all of these little forms that we did. Like now we have the MIT list. What's the most important thing that they need to be thinking of, looking towards the future, making sure that they're thinking ahead and not just thinking of the right now. And then for like our field guys, them having their daily check-ins. Oh, what did I do today? What do I need for tomorrow to be successful? What do I need for the rest of the week to be successful? I think them understanding and them working through that to know, okay, this is what I have to do to show up and be here for my job and know that I'm going to be doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I think that was also a big peace of mind for them because they then knew exactly what we expected of them because we gave them job descriptions, checklists, things like that. But that everyday check-in for some of our guys is really important too. And knowing like the chain of command too, because we have an assistant super, a project manager, a salesperson, designer, a system designer, all of that, them knowing who do I go to first and then working from there, which I think helped them a lot because we had all of them. Now they know, okay, this is what I'm doing and I don't have to go tell them. And then they're like, oh, wait, why did you do this? Oh, because they told me to do that. So that was, I think, helped them quite a bit too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's no more miscommunication or going to the wrong person.
Yeah, huge.
Good. And so, you're 6 months out from when you first, probably a bit longer now, from when you first laid out your 12-month vision and your 5-year vision. How's that looking now? Are you guys still on the same path or has that changed?
I think it's really changed too much. I think we're on the same path. It's actually something next month that's on our calendar to revisit.
Yeah.
So, but at this point in time, I think I think we're on the same path. I don't think anything's really changed too much. Maybe we will expedite a couple of things.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, especially because once we figured out, like, we all had things that we had thought, okay, this is who we need to hire next, or this is what we need to do. And I think going through SYCB and really narrowing down, this is what we need the rest of our staff to be more successful was like, okay, now this is who we're hiring and this is why. So we were all on the same page, and then hiring that person, that salesperson, helped us know, okay, what do we need now? Oh, we're getting an estimator. Oh, we're doing this. Because then it was like, we don't have to wonder, what do we need to be successful? Like narrowing down those plans really, it honestly didn't even take us that long, which was crazy thinking that you were going to be spending so much time to do that. But that helped us tremendously. And I think it also was good for us to know that we were all on the same page. We all knew exactly what we needed to do for Tru to continue to grow.
And you're all working in the same direction now as a collective team, basically.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's hard, 3 of us.
Yeah. I think, well, 2 of you. Laurie's going to duck out soon as well, right? But I think I do agree. I think whatever your 5-year vision was, you're probably going to achieve that a lot quicker because you'd imagined 6 months ago now is probably a lot closer because the system's a lot more efficient as well. So it's exciting to plan bigger and more, what's it called, a big, hairy, audacious vision. See what it looks like.
Yeah,
that's cool. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Tru Builders looks like in 5 years and 6 years and stuff like that. And it's an exciting time. Have you guys got anything else to share? Anything you'd like to share?
I don't think so. You guys have anything fun?
Well, I just want to thank you, Monish, personally for coaching us in our SYCB classes. It was really, really, I will just tell you this. I mean, the money that we invested in the class, we paid back severalfold. The investment was minimal, really was, for what we've gotten out of it so far. And I know it's just going to continue to make us better and better and better. We're looking forward to being able to get together again, however that is in the next few months, 4, 5, 6 months, whatever it is. And I am super excited to hear about all of the other groups that we were associated with in our class. Really, really excited to hear about how they're all doing as well.
Yeah, and I would recommend if you guys have a way that is doing that SYCB or thinking about it, definitely go to those live meetups because it's seriously a game changer, especially like the little like classes that we did and all of the activities. First of all, it's great networking. You're going to meet so many people. You're going to be able to ask them questions that you can't ask companies that are around you because you're not going to ask your competition these questions, obviously. Yeah. So going to those, it was so fun, honestly, just meeting people and then seeing how they did it, how we did it, and then being like, wow, this is such a great thing that we should be doing or that you should be doing, which was so helpful. And I think just meeting those people, Max still has a Zoom with like 3 of them every Wednesday, and he loves it. So I think that's a huge help. If you're going to do it, go all in. Don't just try to take a little bit at a time. Do it to better your company, better yourself, and everybody that you have around you.
Man, and look, I was there. Michelle and I were incredibly jet lagged, as you guys know, but it was definitely worth the trip, and I really enjoyed it. And it was interesting, right? While doing this, I'm meeting people like yourselves and getting all these different perspectives, not just in terms of markets, but like the generations as well. Like Max and people like Jeff sharing with me what their longer careers have been like, what their family lives have been like and things like that. And that's kind of changed Michelle and I's goals and perspectives on how we want to do business and how we want that in life and have that balance as well. So it's not just about getting a checklist for your business, but it's about looking at your life holistically and what you want out of it. So yeah, I really enjoyed that because it took away from me feeling alone as a construction business owner because, like you guys probably know, there's not really too many people that are willing to share, especially in your market. So it's fun.
Definitely.
And if people wanted to reach you guys or connect to you guys, what's the best way for them to do that?
So I would say definitely check out our website. It's trubuildersaz.com. And then if you want to send us all direct emails, Max, M-A-X, at trubuildersaz.com. And that's with no E and an S on builders. And then if you want to send Lori, L-O-R-I, and then me, Cassie, CASSIE at truebuildersat.com. You can talk to us personally or check out our website. There's also a little form on the bottom you can fill out if you want to send it that way.
Awesome.
So you see how we spell true.
Yeah, TRU. It's not TRUE. Yeah. And if anyone emails Lori, they'll probably get an automated response when she's on vacation.
On the office response.
I'll
Yeah.
be back at this stage.
Yeah, that's good. Well, thank you so much for your time, guys. This is pretty great. And looking forward to hearing what the future is, and hopefully see you guys sometime this year at another live meetup as well. Be cool.
Yeah.
Terrific.
That'd be awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hey guys, it's Todd again. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Be sure to check out the show notes for more details and head over to constructionleadingedge.com for more resources. You'll find links to the podcast, free training videos, partners, lots of valuable resources over at constructionleadingedge.com. And if you want your business to run without you, so you can get out of day-to-day firefighting, be able to take a long weekend or even a proper 2-week vacation, or be able to sell your business one day, then there are 3 crucial systems that you absolutely need to have in place. Look, you can certainly figure all of this stuff out on your own through trial and error. You could spend months experimenting, try things on a project, try out systems, see if they work, meanwhile dealing with all the chaos and profit bleeds along the way. However, if you want to accelerate your results, and if you want to avoid months or even years, maybe even decades of learning curve and mistakes, one of the best things you can do is find a proven system and use it. Find a proven system. It's the same reason why you use QuickBooks or Sage or CoConstruct or Buildertrend or Procore instead of creating your own software. Look, you probably could do that. You could create your own software. You could hire developers, spend years and tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars figuring it all out on your own, making costly mistakes, spending a lot of time. But why spend a lot of time and energy reinventing the wheel when you could just take advantage of the years of work and all the investments somebody else has already made? Look, the reason you don't build your own software is the same reason you don't own a concrete plant or you don't build your own trucks. You don't own a lumber mill. It's why you work with trade partners who are specialists at their trade instead of self-performing everything. You let somebody else invest all the time and capital to build it, and then you just get to use it when you need it, as needed, on demand. And that's why most successful professionals invest in coaching, whether they are NFL quarterbacks, Major League Baseball pitchers, CrossFit athletes, race car drivers, CEOs. Coaching brings you 3 things. Number 1, a proven system. Number 2, new ideas. And then number 3, accountability. You get access to a proven system that you can just plug into your business without spending months or years trying to figure out on your own. You get new ideas. A team of coaches who works with construction business owners from all over the world will share ideas and best practices that you simply may not have been exposed to. They'll help you also see things that are in your blind spot. And the nature of a blind spot is you can't see it. And then let's face it, when you're the boss, when you're the owner, there's probably no one looking over your shoulder. And that's why you need accountability. Accountability to drive implementation. And then if you can do all of that within the community of a bunch of other construction business owners, that's a bonus. That's even better. So that's what an investment in coaching will do for you. Look, I've tried to figure this stuff out on my own. I've seen lots of people do it. And trying to figure this out by trial and error is crazy. It's expensive. It takes a lot of your time. And frankly, you just don't have to do it because there's a better way. Here's the good news. You can get the results you want without having to recreate the wheel and figure it all out. An investment in the right, it's very important, an investment in the right coaching program pays for itself in a month. Don't go it alone. So here's my advice, okay? Find the best coaching program out there that has a proven system and is a good fit for you. That's very important. Not all programs are equal. Not all programs are a good fit for you, but find one that has the proven system that's a good fit for you, and then invest the time and money and energy it takes to work with them. And if you would like our help to help you put those crucial systems in place in your business, then let us know. If you want our help so that your business can run without you, so that you can take a vacation, so that you can get out of day-to-day firefighting mode, so you can set up a team and set up a business that will run without you, here's the next step. Go to constructionleadingedge.com/apply. That's constructionleadingedge.com/apply, APPLY, and schedule a breakthrough session with our team to discuss our Systematize Your Construction Business program. That's constructionleadingedge.com/apply. And hey, if you enjoy this podcast, it would mean a lot to me if you could leave a 5-star rating and a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. My name is Todd DeWalt from constructionleadingedge.com. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you next time.